Yeah, good afternoon, one and all. And here today's topic is about the various phases of the compiler and how the process of compilation is going to be carried out. Here we are going to learn about an in detail description about the various phases of the compiler, how many phases are there for doing the process of compilation, and in detail description about each and every phase by seeing with an example, by learning with an example. See here, I shared a slide to you all. In this slide, we are seeing the structure of the compilers. Structure of the compiler. And initially we're taking the character stream as an input program, and then it is going to the lexical analysis, and then the output that we are generating from the lexical analysis is an token, stream of tokens. We're generating a stream of tokens from the lexical analysis. While performing the internal operation of the lexical analysis, then we're getting an output, or then we're generating an output in the form of stream of tokens. And then this stream of tokens is taken as an input to the syntax analysis. And after performing the operation of the syntax analysis, then we are generating the output in the form of an syntax tree. That output in the form of an syntax tree. See, and that syntax tree is taking as an input to the semantic analysis. See, this phase number 1 is an lexical analysis phase. Phase number 2 is an syntax analysis phase. Phase number 3 is an semantic analysis phase. And after taking the input from the syntax analysis in the form of an syntax tree, and now performing the operation of the semantic analysis, then we are generating again the output in the form of a syntax tree with an meaningful manner. With an meaningful manner. And then that is taking as an input to the intermediate code generator, where this intermediate code generator is acting as an mediator between the two parts. What are those? One is an analysis and the another one is an synthesis. It was already learnt in the last classes. Again, I'm repeating, this intermediate code generator is acting as an mediator between the two parts, analysis part and the synthesis part. And by taking the input from the semantic in the form of the syntax tree, now what we are going to generate is, after performing the intermediate code generation, the output that we are going to generate is an intermediate code representation in a 3-address code format. Intermediate code representation in 3-address code format. And when we are going in detail about each and every phase, then we can know what the 3-address code format is. And then what the output that we generated from an intermediate code representation, which is in the form of a machine code. Now we are converting the machine independent into a machine dependent from this phase onwards. And now machine independent code optimization. Now we need to perform the code optimization techniques, and by taking an input from the intermediate code generator, and the output of intermediate code generator is an intermediate code representation. This is acting as an input to the code optimization. And by performing the techniques of code optimization, then what we are doing here is we are minimizing the lines of the code, and again the output is also in the form of an intermediate code representation. Just by minimizing or improving the code efficiency, again we are generating the code in the form of an intermediate code representation. Now from the code optimization, the output that we are getting is an intermediate code representation. Now this is taking as an input to the code generator. And here we are generating and code by applying some algorithms, simple code generation algorithms. We are applying some code generation algorithms, and then finally we are generating the output in the form of a target machine code. And this is what our output is. This is what our executable object program is. So finally, whatever the object program that we are going to generate in the form of a target machine code.
Madam, ఎవరో రోల్ నెంబర్ తో ఎంటర్ అవ్వలేదంటే అసిలేట్ మనోజ్ అట లాస్ట్ లో ఉంది.
Then finally, the target machine code should be an optimized code for getting the object code in the form of an efficient manner. Here we need to underline the word efficient way. Whatever the code that we are going to generate should be in an efficient manner. So this is the overall process of compilation. Here we are having 6 main phases. One is a lexical, and another one is a syntax, and the third is a semantic, fourth is an intermediate code generation, fifth is an code optimization, and finally the sixth one is an code generator. And here in this structure we're having the another phase, we're calling it as an subphase. That is nothing but a symbol table. Two main subphases, 6 main phases, 2 subphases and 6 phases. And these are the 6 phases. And what the 2 subphases are, one is a symbol table and the another one is an error recovery strategy. And see here, each and every phase is linked with an symbol table. While seeing the slide, you can identify that here we're having a representation that every phase is linked with the symbol table. Every phase, all the 6 phases are linked with an symbol table. Why? Because this symbol table is acting as an data structure where we are maintaining a record of the compilation process. Individual phases, for whatever we are doing an internal functionality in individual phases, everything is going to be stored in a symbol table. So here the symbol table is acting as a data structure, and every phase should be connected to an symbol table. It is a must and should. And every phase should be connected with an error recovery strategy also. See here we're having another structure. This is a structure here. See, 2 subphases, one is a symbol table and another one is an error handler, and these are the 6 main phases. And by giving the source code, then generating an object code, the output of the executable code, how the process of compilation is going to be carried out. In this way, in this way we are going to show the structure of the compilers. This is the main structure of the compiler, 2 subphases and 6 main phases. See, from the source, see the arrow mark representations. From the source, it is going to be lexical. From the lexical, it is going to be syntax. From the syntax to the semantic to the intermediate code generator, and intermediate code generator to the code optimizer, and then optimizer to the generator, and finally the machine code. Finally, it is in the form of an object code, executable target code. Right, I think you all understand by seeing the structure of how many phases that we are having in compilers, and what are the main phases and what are the 2 subphases are. 2 subphases are symbol table and error handler. Every phase should be linked. Every phase should be linked with an symbol table along with an error handler. See the representation of these compilers. And up to now, you know what is the definition of the compiler. When we are writing an answer for this, explain about the various phases of the compiler in detail with a neat structure. This is the structure that we are going to write down, and phrasing the structure like this, and defining the compiler. What is a compiler? Again, at the time of defining the compiler, there also we have to show the structure of compiler. Compiler, that is from source to target. In between the compiler, this is the definition that we already learned in the last classes. And then briefly explaining in detail with an example of each and every phase, individual phase description that we are going to that I'm going to do now with an example. First I will show with an example, then again we'll come back with an context of each and every phase. Yeah, see here, all of you see the slide once. Here I'm describing each and every phase with an example. In detail description of an individual phase with an example. Initially, what the input program that we are giving to the lexical analyzer as a source program, and finally what type of an output that we are going to generate. That is nothing but a target machine code, or we can also be call it as an object code, and in which language it is in, and initially in which language we give the input program. See the slide and you can easily understand while explaining. See, my input program is position is equal to initial plus rate into 60. Position is equal to initial plus rate into 60. This is the line of the code in my program. I'm taking this and I'm generating an object code for this. This is in the form of an high level language. So now I'm going to implement the lexical analyzer by taking an input as position is equal to initial plus rate into 60. And what the functionality of the lexical analyzer is, all of you please listen carefully about each and every phase with an example. Don't get confused. I'm clearly making you to understand. By taking the input program as position is equal to initial plus rate into 60, now I'm going to implement the first phase of the compiler, that is a lexical analyzer. And what the functionality of the lexical analyzer is, the first basic functionality is, first it can be called as a scanner. Lexical analyzer can also be called as an scanner, scanning the input program. And also it can be called as a linear analyzer. Make a note of all these. Lexical analyzer can be called as a scanner, or also it can be called as a linear analyzer. Why? Because it is converting the given input program by scanning the input program and converting the stream of characters into stream of tokens here. Converting the stream of characters into stream of tokens. Make a note of this. What the lexical analyzer is going to do is, after scanning the input program, it converts the stream of characters into stream of tokens. And what the tokens are, how we are going to define the tokens? Tokens are nothing but a sequence of characters where it is having a collective meaning. Where it is having a collective meaning. A token can be, maybe a token can be an keyword or identifiers or anything that we can taking as an in the form of an token. Means in the form of an sequence of characters, we are converting it into an some keywords. That keyword is nothing but a token here. So what the output that we are going to generate here, ID1, the position is named as an ID1 is equal to initial is named as an ID2 plus the operators, maybe it may be an assignment operator or additional operator or an multiplication operator. Operators are not going to be changed here. Operators are not going to be changed. Only the operands are going to be changed. Operands in the sense position is an operand, initial is an operand, rate is an operand. Here these are all converting it into a stream of tokens. For example, position is converted into an ID1, initial is converted into an ID2, and rate is converted into an ID3. Then finally, what type of an output that we're going to execute from the lexical analyzer is, after giving the input program in the form of position is equal to initial plus rate into 60, by performing the lexical analyzer, it is converted into ID1 is equal to ID2 plus ID3 into 60. Then whatever the thing that we performed at the time of lexical analyzer, that is all, that whatever the things that we performed in the lexical analyzer, everything is to be stored in a symbol table. Everything is stored in a symbol table. If I want to retrieve, if I want to know what the ID1 is, and by retrieving the data from the symbol table, I can easily understand in the place of ID1, I use an, in the place of position, I use an ID1. Because after performing the lexical analyzer, that is converted into an token. So this is the output that we are going to generate from the lexical analyzer. And this is taking as an input to the syntax analyzer. Input to the syntax analyzer. What we are going to perform in a syntax analyzer means hierarchical structure. Syntax analyzer can also be called as an parser. Make a note of this. Syntax analyzer can also be called as an parser. Parse tree. We are going to generate a tree structure and hierarchical structure. And hierarchical structure, we can also call it as an parsing or parser or parse tree. These are all terminologies that we are having for syntax analyzer. And what we are going to do here is tokens generated by the lexical analyzer are grouped together to form a hierarchical structure. Tokens generated from the lexical analyzer, and what that means is whatever the output that we are generating from the lexical analyzer is taking as an input to the syntax analyzer. Here we are performing a pre-processing technique. So the other phase output is taking as an input to the current phase. Previous phase output is taking to the as an input to the current phase. So this is nothing but a pre-processing technique. Tokens generated by the lexical analyzer are grouped together to form an hierarchical structure. And the syntax, what the syntax analyzer determines means the structure of the source string by grouping the tokens together. See here, in the output of the lexical analyzer, we are having the tokens along with an operators, and here whatever the leaves that we are going to generate, those are should be an operands, and operators should be and roots of that operands. Make a note of this. This is the main important thing when we are generating an hierarchical structure. When we are parsing or when we are generating the parse tree, here the leaves should be an leaves. The terminals should be an operands. The roots should be an operators. Internal nodes and external nodes. Internal nodes should be an operators. External nodes should be an operands. External nodes are nothing but an what I am calling now operands. Leaves. Already you all know when you are deriving the trees in an formal language and automata theory by taking an input in the form of a context-free grammar. There itself you have to know what are the internal nodes and what are the external nodes, and what the input string is. Input string in the form of string. Input string. We are calling it as an input string. In that manner, we are going to phrase the structure. The structure is an hierarchical structure in the form of an parse tree. In this way, we are generating an syntax analyzer, output of an syntax analyzer. Now, after generating the output of the syntax analyzer, now this is acting as an input to the semantic analyzer. What the semantic analyzer is going to be do, what type of an task that the semantic analyzer is performing is, and from the input, what we are taking from the syntax analyzer. For example, here the syntax analyzer generated an tree structure where the tree structure consisting of operators and operands, and the operands are the external nodes and the operators are the internal nodes. But here we are having an 60 a number. Here we are having in the structure a number is there. Make a note of this. 60 into 60. Here, by using this semantic analyzer, it always determines the meaning of the source string. Whether each in the expression, each and every operand is is having the correct meaning or not. Checking out of all this. For example, meaning of the source string means matching of parentheses in the expression, or matching of if-else statements, or performing some arithmetic operations, or expressions that are any type compatible operations, compatible expressions, and so on. For checking the scope of the operation. See, after performing the semantic analyzer, what type of an output it is going to be generate? The same output in the form of an syntax analyzer, but it is giving a meaning at the number 60. It is integer to float. If you don't know what type of data type conversion it is, we can, when we are generating the other phases, it is very difficult to understand. It is very harder to understand. If you have the correct meaning itself, then it is very easy to generate the intermediate code for that. So for that purpose, we are generating an semantic analyzer. We are generating an output in this form by applying or by performing the semantic analyzer. Semantic analyzer always determines the meaning of the source string. Always determines the meaning of the source string. And after determining the meaning, here we make a change that here we are defining integer to float, giving a clear meaning of this value 60. And now this is an output from the semantic, and this is taking as an input to the intermediate code generator. This is taking as an input to the intermediate code generator. What the intermediate code generator will do, it after performing the intermediate code generator, it gives the output in the form of an intermediate code representation. And here we're having different types of representations, but we are only choosing a 3 address code representation for storing these tokens in an temporary variables. For storing these tokens in an temporary variables. See here T1, T2, T3 are the temporary variables. And T1 is equal to int2 float of 60. And T3 is equal to 3 address, as I already said that we are choosing a 3 address code format. So operand is equal to operand 1, operator, operand 2. The format of 3 address code. That means this is an operand, this is an operand, this is an operand. And operand is equal to something and result is equal to, we can call it as, and result is equal to operand 1, operator, then operand 2. That is the format. Or directly the result is equal to an operand. Result is equal to an operand. This is the way that we are going to define, we are going to represent in an 3 address code format. For example, see here from the structure of the semantic analyzer, from here from leaf to root, we are starting from leaf to root. Leaf in the sense here int to float. So we are giving an temporary storage value for this T1 is equal to, we are storing this in an temporary storage 1. T1 is equal to. Now this 60 is multiplying with some identifier like an ID3. So again, we are taking a temporary 2, and what we are doing, we are performing a multiplication operator with the ID3 into already stored variable T1, ID3 into T1. Then this T3, again we are taking an T3. T3 means ID2 plus this ID3 into 2 float is already stored in an T2. So T3 is equal to ID2 plus T2. ID2 plus this thing is stored in an temporary storage variable T2, ID2 plus T2. Now finally ID1 is giving the resultant of all this. So ID1 is equal to what the last temporary variable that we used here, T3. So directly ID1 is equal to T3. And just by checking that whether you stored in an correct, you represent in an correct format or not, just by doing a reverse engineering, check here ID1 is equal to T3. What the T3 is, ID2 plus T2. And now what the T2 is, I am replacing what the T2 is here. T2 means ID3 plus T1. I am placing this ID3 into T1 here. Then what the T1 is into 2 float. So finally what we are getting our source program input. So that is the way of checking out by doing the reverse engineering whether we represent in an correct 3 address code format or not. And this is the way of generating or representing an intermediate code format. This is the output that we are getting from after generating the intermediate code. So this is taking as an input to the code optimizer. Now this is taking as an input to the code optimizer. Now what the task of the code optimizer is? What the task of the code optimizer is? Optimization of the code just by minimizing the lines of the code or improving the efficiency of the code without changing the meaning of the source program. That is the definition of the optimizer. That is the definition of the code optimizer. Optimizer means minimizing the lines of the code without changing the meaning of the code by improving the efficiency of the code. So see here when I performed an intermediate code generator, the representation of the intermediate code generator is in the form of an 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of the code. See, while coming to the code optimizer, after applying the code optimization techniques, And how the lines of the code are getting to minimized? How the lines of the code are minimized here? Here we're having 4 lines, but here we're having 2 lines. Again, we're checking out whether is there any change in the meaning of the source string. Checking out id1 is equal to id2 plus t1. What the t1 is? id3 into 60.0. That is the input, that is the source string from the lexical analyzer, isn't it? So after generating the intermediate code, the representation is having the same meaning without changing the meaning that we generated here, as it is when we are performing the code optimization also. Without changing the meaning of the source string, we minimized the lines of the code. Just by improving the efficiency of the code, by improving 4 lines of the code into an 2 lines, by minimizing 4 lines into an 2 lines, automatically the time and space complexity increases. So there itself we done the optimization in an efficient manner. So after generating the output for the code optimizer in the form of an intermediate code representation by minimizing the lines of the code, that is taking as an input to the code generator. Here the task of the code generator is generating and code by applying some algorithms, and finally getting the output in the form of an machine level code, which is a target code and an object code. See here LDF, MULF, this is a machine instruction code, machine level language code. By using some instruction sets, by using some registers here, the intermediate code representation is generated into an machine level code by applying the code generation techniques, code generation algorithms. LDF and STF are nothing but an floating point data transfers. In the place of LDF, we can also use MOVF, MOV. MOVF in the sense we are moving this ID3, the token ID3 into an register R2. We are placing this ID3 into an R2 register. LDF is nothing but an load data floating point. STF is nothing but an store data floating point. Store data floating point is an STF. LDF is nothing but an load data floating point. And all these, the remaining MULF, ADF, all these are all the floating point registers. We are calling them as an upgrade. We are calling them as an arithmetic operations of an floating point registers. The remaining 2 are the floating point data transfers. These LDF and the STF are the data transfers. These are the arithmetic operations. And here what we are doing, this ID3 is stored in an R2, and now we are performing a multiplication operation with the R2. In the R2, what the token that it was already stored? ID3 into 60.0. While seeing the structure, while seeing the example and what the output that we generated at the place of lexical analyzer, once check it out, or you can check it with an syntax analyzer output. Here ID3 into 60. Here what we are doing, the ID3 is stored in a register 2, and now we are performing a multiplication function with this ID3 into 60.0. Again, we are not writing an ID3 here. We are only just naming with an registers. We define the register names. That's all. Why? Because in the register 2, the ID3 was already stored. Already we load the ID3 in an register 2. Now we perform the multiplication operation with an 60.0. Now again, what I am doing, I am taking the another register R1. Now I am loading this ID2 into R1 register. Now I am going to perform the addition operation. Why? Because ID2 plus the remaining. So I am performing an addition operation. So I am performing an addition operation with this ID2 with the remaining, this remaining thing is already stored in an R2 register, already loaded in an R2 register. So now I am adding the R1, where R1 consisting of ID2 and R2 consisting of this multiplication R2, that is an ID3 into 60.0. So finally what I am doing after performing the addition operation, then finally what I am doing, I am storing the data into an R1 register, where ID1 is equal to, see here, ID1 is equal to T3 here. Here in the R1 register, what I am going to store, ID1. What ID1 is having? What ID1 is having? ID1 is equal to ID2 plus ID3 into 60. That's, see, after performing the reverse engineering also, we can get our source string without changing the meaning. We can get our source string without changing the meaning. And this is the way of process of carrying out with an various phases of compilers. With an example, I think you all clearly understand how the process is carried out with an various phases of the compiler by taking an source program and getting an executable object program. I think you all are clear about, with an example, with a description of each and every phase with an example. And in the next class, I will give the context of each and every phase by describing with an context of each and every phase. And in this class, I explain with an example, and I show you all that how to take an initial program and how to get an target program by taking an source and by getting an target. In between the process of compilation, in between the process of how the process of compilation is carried out by phase. See here, we're applying an pre-processing technique. We're applying an pre-processing technique, and by applying this pre-processing technique, we implement each and every phase and finally getting our output into an object code, where it is an executable object code in an machine level language.